right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the June 30th, 2023 edition of News from the Front Lines of Business by D.W. Huff Consulting. David Huff, CPA, founding partner here, and I'm going to go ahead and recap a few things that came to our attention this week. Interesting stuff all the way around, but that we hope you'll find useful. All right, so today, and yesterday, I spent a little time just kind of going over some of the things with this Hunter Biden case. So we've heard a lot about that in the news lately, and I didn't have time to dig into the details too much until recently. And all I can say is, wow, I'm blown away here. So granted, this is a Ways and Means Committee investigation, so these things tend to be, I guess, not unbiased, but there was some questioning and a discussion here with this IRS whistleblower. So if you don't know what happened in the case there, allegedly Joseph Biden's son had, among other things, not reported some income, took expenses that were just with no justification, no possible way they could have ever, just any common sense individual would know were wrong. So he did a lot of very aggressive things there, in addition to just willfully not filing his returns. And what ended up happening is, as this investigation took place, things happened in the investigation that basically allowed certain statute of limitations to expire, and which kind of tied the IRS's and the government's hands on how they could penalize Hunter Biden. So we've seen at the point of discussion here that there was this they described it as a delay, they divulge and deny. They divulged information to the Biden's defense attorneys. So it gave them time to kind of go and modify information. They denied certain parts of the investigation to take place. At the end of the day, everything kind of played out and really ended up for the amount of money that we're talking here and his allegations, very minor slap on the wrist. He was found to have violated tax laws here, slap on the wrist, no real major penalty, no jail time, really nothing. So I guess what it kind of goes to show, basically, in the discussions I'm seeing with other tax attorneys and other people that kind of know what's going on here, is that it's definitely another case of who you know and what kind of level of influence you have in society, kind of helping determine the outcase of this of a tax case here. So anyway, it's all done, so nothing, I guess, surprising, I guess, there when you're dealing with politically powerful people here, that the same laws that apply to everybody else don't apply to them. And I really hadn't seen very much, I guess, on the opposing side, on the, I guess, the more liberal focused news side. So I think in some cases they have tried to make it look as though this whistleblower or just a disgruntled ex-employee or something like that. And I don't know, I'm just not my reading of these documents does not support that. So with that, keep paying taxes, keep following the rules, because you're not going to get that good of a deal, I promise you. All right, on the financial planning side, we had a chat with a client here, a younger person. And it brought to light something I saw on a educational video from one of the guys that I follow, about concentration of your holdings versus diversification. And they quoted, I think Buffett said it, other people have said the same thing too. And they'll say, diversification may preserve your wealth, but concentration builds wealth. So I've seen that before too. So I guess when you're in the aggressive growth stage, think of like a Bill Gates, back in the early days of Microsoft, that's all he had, right? So he had that one company. He watched it closely, highly involved. Took it to a multi-bazillion dollar enterprise, and that was 30 years ago. Now, much different, right? So he's diversified all over the place. He has his charitable trust and all these different assets. So now that he's made the money, you can see that the focus has changed. I think that's the kind of case with everybody, even with Warren Buffett, with Berkshire Hathaway. Some of the earlier investment decisions I would consider definitely to be more aggressive and more have more of a requirement for constant attention than some of the stuff that he has now. So when you're trying to get there, put all your eggs in one basket and watch that basket very closely is another related saying I've heard there. And then once you get to that point, don't do anything dumb to lose it. So that's when your diversification makes sense, and that's going to protect your wealth. And to expand on something we talked a little bit about last week. So just studying some stuff from the Infinity Investing folks over at Anderson Investment Advisors, and a saying came up in one of the video presentations about assets feed you, liabilities bleed you. So I guess we want to just recap that unique way of looking at things. So we normally think of an asset, house, car, whatever, that would be an asset, and this view here kind of changed that, because a house requires property taxes to be paid, maintenance, etc. So really it's taking money out of your pocket, as opposed to a rental property, which you rent. Somebody would pay you money and use that money to pay things. So this rich dad, poor dad view of assets feeding you is kind of what I'm showing here. So on the left-hand side, we have the middle-class people. They go out and they make some money. That's their income, comes in, dropping down to the bottom. They'll buy some assets. They may pay some liabilities. They may pay some expenses, and that's kind of how it goes. So at the end of the day, I think in that example, net worth never really goes up. They may have bought a house or a more expensive car, with liabilities to fund such things, and at the end of the day, they never really get anywhere. Whereas your more wealthy people think of it differently. They'll take the money that comes in, use it to buy assets that generate income, and from that income, they'll buy all that toys and all the nonsense. They don't really show that in this slide, but that's kind of the way it goes. So see a few instances of that where certain gurus will kind of talk about they get a big windfall of income, rather than go out and use that money to buy the upgraded car, upgraded house. They'll take that money and buy some other income generating asset, right? So it could be real estate, could be an investment in a business, but they'll take the windfall, buy something that's going to generate more infinite income, right? More long-term permanent income. And then from that income that's earned from the asset that they've just acquired, they'll use that to upgrade their car. So it might take a little more time to drive the more luxurious car and have the bigger house, but ultimately by funding that stuff with income from the assets that you've acquired, it's less stressful in the long run, more sustainable, and you don't have to worry about downturns in the economy, losing a job or some kind of layoff or anything like that, because these type of assets that you would acquire, the income generators, tend to be more steady and kind of can go on infinitely. So that's the concept, once again, that we wanted to stress there. So be patient, let your assets work for you. All right, so closing costs here. Closing thoughts, so looking at the Daily Stoics, and the message for today was they're going to talk about how every day is kind of hard, right? So you can read this for yourself, but Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, all the big philosophers that are most widely known and quoted have all had difficult lives. Epictetus was abused by his slave master and permanently crippled. They all had bad things happen to them, but they kept their mindset always thinking positively, right? So it didn't matter how bad things got, they made the choice to control whether those things got them down or whether they just continue to march forward and keep smiling, all right? So with that, not every day is going to be easy. So choose to be tough and be resilient and keep working and keep fighting, and we'll see you out here next week.